come once again to discuss things.
Actually, let's go ahead and use this to start out the video if everyone's okay. Anyway, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is Steve Baxey and Ozzy Griffin. Hello, gentlemen.
What's up?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, afternoon, evening, morning, whatever you exist in the time-space system. Anyway, so this week we're talking about kind of a weird curveball topic that I never would have expected to talk about, especially I wouldn't have expected Steve to do this, because I find Steve to be much more of a story over, like, medium kind of guy, but nah, this is really interesting curveball topic from Steve. So Steve, what are we talking about?
Alright, so today we're talking about film versus digital. Not in special effects or anything like that, but in literal filming on a digital platform or using celluloid film. What's better? What are the pros and cons of each? I mentioned last time we did the show that Keanu Reeves has a fantastic documentary called Side by Side that really addresses some of this, and it's been rattling around in my brain, which is partly why I picked the topic.
Yeah, that's totally cool. And it is a really interesting topic, and I've got a lot of thoughts on it. And then I watched the documentary, and that gave me more thoughts on it. And I figure the best way we could possibly do this is to just, like, instead of having any nuance or any subtlety or any clever overall opinions, we're just going to go a yes or no, one side or the other roundtable real quick, and say digital or film. I'll start. Digital. Steve?
Digital.
Ozzy?
Film.
Okay, there we go.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it is. Steve's actually going to be on my side for something.
I knew you were going to pick digital, and that's not why I picked it, but I think we're going to be absolutely on the same page with this.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's going to be you're going to be on the right side for the wrong reasons. But anyway, yeah. So, like, for me, watching this, Nolan's one of my favorite directors. Like, even when he does stuff that is problematic, it's still always visually amazing to watch. But watching this, I was like, God, Nolan, you just sound so wrong and kind of whiny.
Like, his argument is awful.
I wouldn't say awful, it's just not really, like, strong. Like, what was the one that got me watching the side-by-side documentary is everyone's talking about, like, the big major draw for digital is you get to see what you are making as you're doing it, and you don't have to wait. And, like, Nolan's counter-argument to that is, well, you see it on a television screen, you don't see it on a movie screen. I'm like, yeah, but you don't see it on a movie screen for very long anyway, so it should look good on TV, too. And you eventually see it on a movie screen, and regardless, the size of the screen isn't as important as getting to see it up close in detail.
Nolan also has that bit where he's talking about the cookie example, about how even though there's this artificially created taste, it's still artificial. And then James Cameron comes in, and he says, what about film was ever real? You're not seeing New York, you're seeing a backlot in Burbank.
Right? Like, how would you ever, like, in your wildest dreams, do you ever imagine siding with James Cameron over Nolan on something?
Right, yeah, because I don't like as many James Cameron films as I like Nolan films, and I love the way he shoots them on film, but his argument for film is really, really weak.
Yeah. So, Ozzy, since you didn't get the chance to watch the documentary, and I think that's actually kind of a good thing, because otherwise this would end up just being, like, a review of the documentary. But, Ozzy, what makes you side more with film than with digital?
Look, I'm actually. Let me address one of the arguments there about you can't see it at the same time, because you're not shooting on digital. Okay, well, forget that, all right? if you're a half decent director, you can have a steady cam. You can have a digital camcorder by the side of everything. I mean, for the love of God, do you know how much stuff is shot against a blue screen these days? Excuse me. Got a cough. Got over a cold. That's irony for you. But for this one, man, like I said, yes, you can set up a quick replay handy cam next to your actual film camera. But second, the downside of digital, and the reason I like film better, is because it looks just a little bit too slick. Mind you, I got to admit I'm a little bit biased on this one. I've got one of my eyes that's going downhill pretty fast as far as eyesight goes. Not a totally bad thing, just losing focus. Anyway, but like I was saying, no, you can get a lot more. How do I put it? You can get a lot better clarity from actual celluloid film or any other types of film that are out there, and there are a couple other variations. And you do have to watch out for the digital quality being limited by the processing and the compression, because there's always a slight bit of compression.
That is one of the downfalls of digital is
Absolutely.
When you capture it, that is the best it is ever going to be. You're never going to be able to get it better. But at the same time, and this is an example that I really like going to, have either of you heard of the movie called African Queen?
Yes.
Heard of it.
Okay.
Was that about a boat?
Yeah, it's about a boat
I know about it,
in Africa, and they actually shot it down in this tropical jungle and shit. And it's really old. It's from the 50s or 60s.
Oh, I've seen it.
And it was recently put out, and I only know this because I was over at a friend's house and his stepdad was watching it. It was recently put out on a Blu-ray release. And this is the thing about film that people tout up as an advantage is, once you have it on film, as long as you keep the negatives, you can make it whatever resolution you want. So as resolution improves and improves and improves, film ideally will be able to keep up with that resolution, whereas digital will not. But the thing is, people don't know that when they're shooting. Because if you watch African Queen on Blu-ray on an HD television, it looks fucking disgusting. Because it's a bunch of white guys down in the fucking jungle sweating their asses off. And it's gross. They never wanted you to see those fuckers' pores on screen at, to Nolan's point, at incredible, sizes and intensities with amazing DPI. They never wanted you to see that. It looks nasty as shit.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that occasionally the increased resolution has its downsides. But that's like arguing that, actually, no, I'll give you a good counterpoint to that. That is like arguing that digital film gives you much slicker appearances of things, and then you complain that everything looks too slick and it looks unrealistic. It's about the same counter argument.
Well, I think part of the problem, though, and the documentary addresses, and I think it's absolutely true, film has been around for a long time, and there's nothing to that technique that we don't already know. It really is, at this point, a completed, perfected art form. So there's still a great deal of things that film, just on a technical level, isn't capable of doing. So ideally, if you want to be able to tell more stories, if you want technology to keep up with imagination, you have to invent a new format. And digital is something that's still really problematic. It's still new, so it can only get better. That's not to say that the film at its highest form is worse than digital. But it is to say that if you want storytelling to improve, you have to go to the place where you can do more. And digital is definitely that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that entirely, because, obviously Lucas being the guy that first jumps ship and says, "Oh, film is dead," and it's weird because in this documentary, I find myself just I don't want to be on George Lucas's side, but I'm on George Lucas's side. What the shit?
Yeah, he's one of the people that makes a really good case for storytelling over nostalgia, which is really odd.
because
considering
his
he's
storytelling
the head
abilities in the prequels are a complete fail, and they're only, and I say this marginally, they're only an achievement on the technical sense, and that just barely.
Yeah. I mean, they invented some technologies, but it's only after other people utilized them better that they worked.
And I think Cameron's obviously the better example to go to, because, like, Cracked recently did a video, funny enough, where they pulled a bunch of interviews for James Cameron, and they're making the point that, you know, like, his movie, like, Avatar, Avatar made the most money of any movie ever, yet it has had almost no cultural impact. It's like we almost forget about it. And the reason is, just like with all of James Cameron's movies, is he's pushing the technical side of things before he's pushing the cultural side of things. Like, he made Titanic not because he wanted to make a great story about Titanic, but because he wanted to dive down to those depths and explore those ruins before he was too old to do it. And the best way he could think of to get there was to make a movie about it so studios would fund it for him.
I mean, you get those gems like Abyss and Aliens and Terminator 2, but that tends to be more of the writer got lucky and got to do a lot while James Cameron was playing around with technology.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of one of the reasons I like film, because it's, okay, and you said it well, it's already perfected. It is, you know, shooting stuff on film is shooting stuff on film, been there, done that, that's it. But that's the thing. There's no room for shenanigans like, oh, but you've never shot it like this before. No, man, focus on the story, come on. You know, get rid of the Gungans and let's get on with the show.
But the problem with that mentality is shooting it differently can add to the story. There's great examples of lots of films where you don't get anything from dialogue. You get like a certain camera pan, or you follow a character around with a certain smaller sized camera that works for digital, that is new, that conveys more of what the story's trying to say that you could never do with a camera that uses film, that you have to reload every 10 minutes.
Yeah, and, like, just other stuff like that. I mean, you go straight to Gungans, and fair enough, but, like, look at other digital characters on screen. Even the first, like, major motion picture that had a 100% CGI character on screen throughout the whole time, it's not the greatest movie ever or anything, but Dragonheart's still a pretty solid story flick.
No argument there. No argument there whatsoever, but that's a good blend.
Well, no, that was shot.
The
only reason that was shot on film is because digital quality wasn't good enough yet.
Yeah.
But that was a movie that was still, it would have been shot on digital if they could have, because it would have made it easier to do. It's just one of those things, like Dragonheart's an example where it's like, yeah, I mean, you can blame the Gungans and stuff, but I'm like, that it's not the fault of the Gungans, the CG or the digital side of things, that the Gungans are fucking annoying.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at Marvel's Daredevil. There's a fantastic piece out there that's only like 5-10 minutes long that explains all the visual effects they used, because a great deal of that was shot on digital as well as film. And you notice with digital, they were able to create stunts, and they were able to create backgrounds, and they were able to create actual visceral, feels grittier and more real than film with CGI and digital technology that would not be possible on film. Mm-hmm. Like there's parts where, like the ninja fight, for example, in I want to say the 7th or 8th episode, in the ninja fight, when Daredevil's getting pulled around and his guts are falling out and there's blood everywhere and it feels like this really gritty, hard-boiled, just atrocious fight, more than half of that is CGI. And a lot of that CGI wasn't placed on film. It was all shot on digital and added there.
Mm-hmm. And, like the thing is, this obviously teeters very closely on the idea of practical versus digital effects, and we've done an episode on that, but that was forever ago, and I do want to readdress that at some point. And I think we gotta, kind of check ourselves and not let us get into that area, because, it's a fine line between talking about what you can do with experimentation and how CGI actually pushed the medium toward digital faster than it would have otherwise.
Can I just launch off a little bit on that one?
Sure.
Recently, I've been catching up with some of the stuff I've missed for the Star Wars sequel hype. We were actually
No, wait. Don't say anything that would give anything away about the movie that you've seen from the trailers.
This is going to give away nothing about the storyline, the plot line, the characters,
that's
or
fine.
anything else. One of the things they proudly show in the snippets of making of, is the fact that yes, they're using actual cameras and filming them again. So and they are talking about the practical effects and the actual sets. That is one thing, which don't get me wrong, being able to walk around the Millennium Falcon, I agree with the stagehands totally. I would come to work smiling as well. But that's entirely my point. There has been a backlash against people using, flash over substance. And you see that in the little making of featurette that I found on that you can find on YouTube.
Okay, that's fair, and like I said, we want to stay away from the digital versus practical effects because that is a topic in and of itself. It's just when you shoot on digital,
Absolutely.
It's easier to add digital effects in than it is on film because the idea, and they talk about this in the documentary too, when you're doing it with practical effects on film, then you're layering things and then it breaks down, it lowers the quality as you go on.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas when you do it with digital, it's all ones and zeros, so it's just as clean and consistent as you want it to be. And certainly we can verge into that area a little bit and talk about how some digital effects need to be dirtied up a little bit to look less realistic, or to look less perfect, but let's not broach that yet. Let's say, that's a thing, but that's a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
But I mean, to go to what you were saying and to get away from the practical effects side,
Yep.
they're using film for episode 7, and that's all fine and dandy. But look at stuff by David Fincher. Look at movies where he shot digitally. I think he did 7 parts of that way. And you still get the whole gritty noir sense of it. You still get a really dark film all the way through, and you can't tell at all unless you're sitting there analyzing frame by frame with your computer. You can't tell where it's digital and where it's film. If they wanted to film episode 7 on digital and make it look like film, they can do it. So there's no advantage inherent to film.
No argument there. And I'm look, once again, just revisiting what I said at the start. I am a little bit biased. I like good quality pictures. I like to be able to zoom into hell with these pictures. But I also like the kind of filmmaking where you can milk a scene for what you can see and focus in on. That is one thing I'll give people when they're in an editing suite. They can absolutely get a lot out of digital that you can't, that it takes a little bit more specialization and maybe one or two other people's inputs to get out of digital. So, like I said, that is part of my bias right there.
Yeah, and like one thing I heard people talk, and I do hear this, is the idea that, well, film's got a texture to it, it looks like that graininess adds a lot of character to things. Yeah. And one movie that I didn't know was shot on digital was Collateral. And they talked about this in the documentary, how Collateral was shot on digital. And like the thing is, what?
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger film, right?
No, the Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx film.
Yeah, the Michael.
Right, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that was shot on digital, and the thing is, digital can have texture too. It's just a different kind, because when you get those dark corners that are darker than dark, they kind of like, the pixels don't quite know what to do, so they kind of, flicker in and out, and so you just get this weird textured look to it. And you could, if you're a novice, you can believe that's film. Like, I could tell someone, hey, this is film, and they'd totally buy it, because shit, I did. Honestly, I wish that the side-by-side documentary did more, Steve, is I wish every single clip that they showed from every single movie had shot on film, shot on digital.
Yeah, they were really inconsistent about some of that, which was annoying.
Hey,
yeah, and like...
Yeah, big guys.
Oh, okay. That's one of the things is like, and I feel like Ozzy's argument was kind of building into that, the idea of, oh, well, it has texture, it has a lively look to it. Like, you can do that with digital, but you don't have to, because digital has its own version of that, too.
Yeah, and I think it's important to address, like, some of the nostalgia factor to it, too. Like, the graininess of a film, of a noir, of a western, it adds character to it. But how much of it is you're expecting it to look that way, and how much of it is necessary for the story you're trying to tell?
Now that I'll completely cop to that. That's a fair question. You know, how much are you expecting someone to say? Well, of course, it was shot on film. Look how gritty it is around the edges. Yeah, you can add that in. You know, but that is like a good example of something that is proud to be shot on film. What's the guy's name? Quentin Tarantino's one of his newest movies. Hateful Eight.
Yeah, like what is the? I just saw the trailer for that the other day. What was the big, like, he put it in giant red text on screen, like, right at the end of the trailer, shot in stunning...
Yeah,
well, like, hold on, let me
millimeter.
just look up the trailer for Hateful Eight real quick. I gotta figure out what it says,
because
otherwise it'll drive me crazy.
I can... okay.
Hateful Eight trailer, and I'm gonna go straight to the end here.
Yeah, about 20 seconds out, yeah. But yeah, like I said, yeah, he absolutely takes pride in it, and that is one thing I'll give shooting.
See it in glorious 70mm Ultra Panavision 70. It's in giant red letters on one of the last shots of the trailer. Tarantino is very proud to have shot that movie on film.
Yeah.
Right. but that's now Tarantino's. No, don't get me wrong. We could do a whole episode on him, just alone, let alone his films, but.
And his foot fetishes.
Whatever he's into, hey, like I said, I buy it. Anyway, but no, like I was saying, man, it's a good example, and one of the upsides of it is if you want to do something like IMAX, screenings, or you want to, blow it up to hell. Once again, film's got it covered.
All right, let me put this counter to it though.
Please.
I actually have two counter arguments to that. One is the IMAX cameras. Okay, so I love The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is one of, if not my favorite movie.
Big prize.
So, Nolan shot a lot of scenes for that on the IMAX cameras. When he shot it, there were, I think, 4 or 5 IMAX cameras in the world. And they broke one. And it cost them like $1 million. And so they did that in 2008, and that was to show and prove that IMAX could be one of the most stunning visuals you could put on screen. Mm-hmm. 2 years later, the Red Epic comes out with 5K resolution. Beats IMAX. 5K resolution beats IMAX film in a snap, okay? But to go beyond 5K resolution, it's kind of like going back to the 80s during the console wars between Sega and Nintendo and saying, oh, well, this has 256 colors. Oh, well, this has this many colors, this many colors, this many colors. At a certain point,
you can't tell.
Your eye can't tell the difference. So the IMAX cameras, which are heavy as shit, like 30, 40-pound cameras, versus the Red Epic, which can have a carbon fiber body. And, like, they talk about it, they mounted it onto a little fucking canoe for Social Network.
Yeah.
Nice.
Like, you're immediately, like, it frees up for filmmaking with different kinds of shots that you couldn't possibly do in the same quality of resolution. But even if film can push resolutions beyond human capabilities, what's the point? If your eye can't tell the difference, what does it matter?
Valid point. I'll absolutely concede that one. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of my problem with, ironically, to take the scale down a fair bit. That's my problem with a lot of YouTube videos. It's like, hey man, this thing was filmed in HD, and I'm like, I know my eyesight's not great, but what's the diff? I mean,
yeah, right. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a resolution junkie at this point. I've got a 4K TV.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, it was a $600 4K TV, best buy I ever had in my life.
$600. That's it.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow,
and I can,
holy shit.
Yeah, I just need something that can process in 4K so I can put some of my lantern batteries up and really look at them. No, like, here, I'll send you guys some links right now, and I'll put some images up on screen. Hold on, let me mark down the time. 47:44. Okay. I'll put some images up on screen, or I'll link you guys, and these are 4K renderings that I did. I'll just link one or two of them. And you guys can tell me, like, you can zoom in on that shit and just look at it and tell me it's not amazing to see. I'm a resolution junkie, but I will still stick to the argument that at the same time, if your eye can't see it, then there's no point.
Right.
Oh, okay, and I'll get the really big one, too. This is, like, this second image I'm linking you took, I think, 7 days to render. So
7 days, holy shit.
Yeah, and it's in 4K at 9,000 pixels per inch. Well, not even 4K. It's in 4K by 7K, because it's 4K big and 7K long, and then it's 9,000 pixels per inch. So you can really zoom right the fuck in on that, to the point where the textures I put on the images, or on the materials, are breaking down before the resolution of the image is breaking down.
That's awesome.
What's that? I've got to give you.
No, that's pretty cool. Like, the resolution my laptop can do is pretty massive, and this is great.
Yeah, I love... My White Lantern's probably my favorite. Yeah, but anyway,
it's just taking, it's like, this is a small version, it's loading the other ones. I'm like, how long is it got to take to load? Whoa!
Yeah.
I think another good example, because we were talking about Tarantino, and Tarantino likes to shoot his films on a more massive scale. Like, even if it's a small, intimate character story, he likes to have, like, this massive space for characters to interact, and like there's this social emptiness around the characters, unless he's making a very particular point about everything being close together. And if you look at another film that does that, that's not film, and is actually shot digitally, look at Mad Max Fury Road. That film does a lot of the same things, and it pulls off and it shoots things that are really gritty, that are all done very practically. There's a lot of stuff in that movie that you can that reminds you of stuff like Django or Inglourious Bastards, but it's shot digitally, and a lot of people can't tell. It looks just like the other Mad Max films, and and you're able to do a lot more. You're able to get a whole variety of better stunts just because they use digital, and no one can tell.
Yeah, I mean, you to that point also, I mean, like, jumping off of Tarantino, let's go to the Mexican version of Tarantino, Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Like, he is. Honestly, if you look at the back of Desperado, one of the, like, on the DVD cases, at least the one I have, one of the, like, critic review quotes says, Mexican Pulp Fiction.
Oh, that's awesome.
Those two are like best friends, though, so it's so funny. They're neighbors and everything. It's great. Like, the best relationship in Hollywood. It's total bromance. But anyway, no, like, you look at, it's so weird because, like, that, I just imagine those two have, like, lovers' quarrels over digital and film, because I know Tarantino has, like, a love affair with film, and Rodriguez was one of the first guys, once Lucas brought it up, Rodriguez was one of the first guys to jump on ship with digital, too, so it's really funny.
And I love him in the documentary when he's talking about how he realized he could finally do Sin City because of it.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Because that's not just I think this looks cool. There's story and character and symbolic reasons for making the film the way it is, and you can't do that anywhere else.
Yeah, because, like, the nature of desaturating everything but one color, you can maybe get away with it a little bit on film, but not to the extent that he does it there. Not to make the reds redder than hell and everything else completely desaturated. You can't do that on film.
I got to dispute that one. I mean, 2 words, Schindler's List. And
that's like one scene, though.
Yeah, I mean, you can't
do 2 scenes. One with the candle, the other with the girl spread scarf. But, for future argument, it can be done. Now, is it a pain in the ass to do by comparison? Sure, most things are easier to do on digital. I'll fully give you that. But once again, if you've got the dedication.
Okay, let me ask you this then. All right, let's time travel in our minds 200 years into the future, okay? And simultaneously 2,000 years into the past, okay? In the future, they've invented a tool that allows you to sculpt marble with a laser. And it's a laser chisel. Okay. So we go now 2,000 years past where they're sculpting marble, hammer, and chisel. And two men both make perfect... we go to David and we go to a guy who's attempting... Because the statue of David is about to break, everyone. Who is attempting to recreate the statue of David, like, just based on pictures and understanding it and knowing everything he can about it. We go to David, we go to Michelangelo sculpting David, and we go to this guy in the future trying to recreate David. He's using a laser sculptor, and Michelangelo is using hammer and chisel. Mm-hmm. Is Michelangelo's work more impressive because his took more effort?
It's not the effort, it's the skill involved. He was using an established set of tools that other people had perfected the techniques of. Yes, I will give you that. But
that's my thing though, is just like putting more work into it doesn't make it better. Like it's the difference between working hard and working smart. Honestly, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's stupid because there's a nobility to it. There's a sense of, okay, I'm going to do it the old way. But if you have the option to, what do you go to town on? Round wheels or oval wheels?
Yeah, like if you talk to Michelangelo and he gave him the option to use a laser, he's going to use the laser. It's not about. He'd
probably freak the fuck out and call you demon. But sure.
I mean, we're doing the thought experiment, but I mean, Michelangelo, when you research the guy, he didn't care about like every painstaking little ounce of pressure it took to get the marble to look the way it did. He cared about the vision he had in his head and how best he could recreate it. It was never about the technique's importance. It was always about creating the image from his mind. And that's the inception of all art, is to create the image from your mind. If you hold on to film to the extent that we do, how much of it is it restricting what you can think of so you can keep it on film as opposed to pushing what's possible?
Yeah. Granted, in some circumstances, that's actually wound up being a good thing, but yeah, no, I get where you're coming from there. There's plenty of artworks I'd love to create, but I have nowhere near the skill required.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually one of my things. I think I go digital so much just because that is my medium of expression is in the digital world, because I have dumb hands. To quote Futurama, I have stupid hands. That, like, yeah, the thing is in my head perfectly, but my hands are like fucking disabled helmet-wearing children. Really dark joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, but my hands just cannot make it happen. But when I work digitally with things, I mean, sure, there's a learning curve to the program and everything, but if the lady that fucking edited Lawrence of Arabia can learn to edit on a computer, anyone can. I can actually go and I can redo things and you're not doing the hard way, or you don't have the proper respect and the understanding of it all. I'm like, you know what? Who the fuck cares?
Yeah, I mean, like, if you look at the history of film, no one's batting an eyelash when that gets better. No one's saying, why are we shooting on film developed in the 90s? Let's go back and shoot film developed in the 50s.
Yeah, I mean, when they invented Technicolor, no one went back to, we should be hand painting every frame to make color special.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy. They did that with A Trip to the Moon, and by the way, hand painting frames looks awful. It looks god awful. The colors are all wrong, everything's really flat, and it changes frame. It's terrible. Anyway,
yeah, I mean, it all boils down to, it's about the integrity of the piece, not every individual component that created it. Like, if you look at any major blockbuster, we always have a little bit of distance of it, so we just kind of assume things work the way we do, but everyone's human. There's a whole bunch of people, I'm sure, making a $200 million blockbuster that have this particular moment in their process where their day was shitty, and they just half-assed it. And we can't tell.
Actually, I can give you an example. The guy, I'm drawing a blank here. The New Zealand guy who shot Lord of the Rings.
Oh, Peter Jackson.
That's one. I call anytime I can't remember someone's name, your name, regardless of gender, ethnicity, anything else, your name becomes Steve. Okay, so Steve there,
Steve
Jackson, whoever. Jackson fell asleep constantly during the revision of the dailies when they were going through the different takes. So there might have been some better takes that he could have gotten that he quite literally slept through. So, yeah, no, there literally are examples of that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean...
Then I feel really bad for the actor that broke his fucking toe.
You got now, that name I remember. Go figure.
No, but I mean, people do that. It's not about nitpicking the minor details of the thing. It's not a CinemaSins thing. It doesn't matter that there are pterodactyls in the background of Citizen Kane. What matters is that you're watching the story of Citizen Kane.
No, obviously Herman Cain owns a fucking Jurassic Park. Why? That is a very important story detail. Why do people not want to acknowledge it?
No, but I mean, like, you see another example, Avengers Age of Ultron. They didn't have the set or any actual photo references of all of what the helicarrier looked like, so they just made it up, and it's really inconsistent, but who the fuck cares?
Yeah.
Really? They didn't... I don't understand why they strike certain sets.
Yeah, I don't know, it's weird.
I mean, you could have given that to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a season. They would have fucked around on it.
I don't know how you destroy every single photo reference of a massive set, but whatever. No, but I mean, like, no one cares about that. It doesn't matter.
No, I just really want to have, like, a line to explain that in the movie now, why the helicarrier looks completely different, because, like, it's already awkward enough when Nick Fury shows up, like, oh, we got the mothballs out of this, and also renovated it in a day.
No, but I mean, like, it's one of those things, and I mean, people talk about, like, the individual, isolated, can't control qualities of film, but if you can't control them and they're isolated and they don't do anything except serve to tell you what film can do, why does it matter?
Yeah, I'm like, you know, it's one of those things where I really wish Kubrick was still alive, because I would love to hear his take on this. Because here's a guy who, like, really did push the fuck out of film as a medium, and also pushed also pushed effects into a new era too.
Oh, hell yeah.
There wouldn't be half the shit in sci-fi without 2001.
Exactly.
I
mean,
and so I would be amazed to hear Kubrick's take on digital, and, like, you know, what his last film was 95?
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut was 99.
No,
editing
it, that's right.
So he was, like, seriously right there when it was about to really take off. I would have loved to hear his thoughts on you know, things like things shot on digital that actually started looking good. I really want to see Che. I remember hearing when that was out, and then seeing in the clips of it in the documentary. I'm like, shit, I want to watch Che right now.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. You've got all that fantastic jungle atmosphere, and you've got, like, this almost kind of pedestrian a way of holding the camera, and you can't do that anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Because they talk about that one movie, Celebration. I've never seen that, but that looks fascinating as hell.
What was
the
that
one where
one?
it's like this weird wedding, and everything's on, like, a handheld camera?
Oh, okay, yeah, that looked weird. Melancholia was shot on digital, too, and I fucking love that movie. Which is a weird movie to love, but I do love it. Yay, depression! No, actually, seriously, though, if you don't understand what people mean when they say that they're depressed and that they have no motivation, watch Melancholia. It's a great film to really capture that idea of manic depressivism.
And Evans's late.
What?
I've just for the last 20 minutes or so, I've just mentally been logging stuff that I'm like, gotta watch this one, gotta watch this one. I picked up Pan's Labyrinth last night. I'm still gonna be watching that later today.
Oh,
it's a great movie.
It's a weird movie.
Yeah.
It's almost... David Bowie almost makes that movie for me, but I don't know.
No, it's Pan's Labyrinth.
Oh, okay.
No, Labyrinth I've seen. Pan's Labyrinth, that's Guillermo del Toro.
Okay, no, I've not... Yeah, I've not seen that. That's the one in Spanish that, like, he didn't tell anyone was in Spanish.
Pretty much.
Like, I don't know how that got past everybody. That was really funny.
No, it's an English honest.
It is?
No,
Oh,
that's how you do it. It's like, guys,
yeah,
it's fully in
I'm
English.
tired.
Yeah, it's just an error.
I know. I like as soon as I said serious, I immediately realized you were joking. I felt really stupid. That's the second time. No, that is the second time today I've done that.
Okay.
Today at work.
Man, it's getting early night. And a couple of gallons of hot cocoa. Come on, somebody hook them up. Come on.
This is a really funny story that happened to me at work today. It's one of those moments where I just every so often you just feel like a moron, and I had this today. So a couple of weeks ago we got this item in, and it was like a mason jar on top of this weird metal thing with a bunch of holes in it. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I asked somebody and go, oh, it's a bird feeder. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I put it on the shelf, and then a couple of days later it comes up, and it's like, it comes up today on my list at work to pick it. So I grab it off the shelf, and I look at the description on my little sheet that has the descriptions of all our items, and it says chicken feeder. I'm go, oh, it's a chicken feeder, not a bird feeder. Wait, shit. And it was too late. Everyone was already on my ass. Like,
well, technically they're foul, but yes.
Technically they're Tyrannosaurus Rexes. Shut the fuck up. Which came first? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? The motherfucking T-Rex. Anyway, no, but so the idea of shooting things digitally, just it frees you up a lot, and so I really wanted to hear some of the better arguments for film, and there were a couple, but I found a lot of them to be really weak. Like Nolan's arguments were the weakest I found, which I was really disappointed by.
I wonder if there's more material though from him that they cut, because he was in that film for such a short period of time, and it felt like everything he said was so disconnected from each other.
Yeah, it definitely did. But, like, at the same time, I think one of the better arguments I heard was, oh, well, like, we can do all this stuff digitally with color correction to change everything and do it in post, so you don't have to worry about it on set.
Once again,
and then,
Lord of the Rings did the color correction already.
And that's the thing is, like, they go, oh, well, when you're shooting on film, you should just do that in camera anyway. And I'm like,
no.
Yeah, but why do it then when you have all this other stuff to worry about?
Yeah, and that's
like as someone that's shot movies and stuff, yeah. I'm worried about getting guerrilla filmmaker here.
Yeah.
I'm worried about getting off of this property before the business owner shows up and tells us to fucking leave. Like, oh my god, dude, you have no idea how important it is to do that shit. We were shooting in a park one night for a horror movie, and my friends are fucking morons, but we're shooting in a park one night for a horror movie. All the lights start going out as the park closes down. We're like, okay, let's get shooting quick. And then we're getting everything ready for like shooting one of our actors. And the way you shoot somebody in Ian-style guerrilla filmmaking is you take a condom, you fill it with fake blood, you close it off, you tape it to their chest, you stick a little washer onto it, little metal washer that's got fishing line tied to it. You super glue the washer to the condom underneath their shirt, and then on the cue, you pull it, and it looks like blood, and it looks fucking amazing. So we're working on getting all that shit set up when a cop rolls up and asks us what's going on, and I'm like, hey guys, wait here for 1 second. I go to talk to the cop.
There's a bunch of guys here, we're shooting a movie, there's condoms involved.
No, wait. I'm telling my story. Like, hey, yeah, we're shooting a movie and stuff, and then my friend that is filling the condom with blood decides to choose that exact moment to walk over to the cop car and ask what is going on. So I want you to put yourself in the shoes of this officer who sees a kid walking to him with a bottle of fake blood and a condom filled with red liquid. So, like, no, the importance of just getting everything done while you're there is incredible. And they talk about it in the documentary, oh, well, when you hear the film rolling, that means that's the money. Well, you know what? The money is you being there, motherfucker. Take some pride in yourself as an actor.
Yeah, I mean, because they mention a little bit that when you're on film, that it creates a different sense of seriousness, commitment from the actors. But then the easy counter to that was, well, that's something you create as a director. It has nothing to do with the film.
Oh, yeah. That's, once again, that goes back to my original argument about film. It's already perfected. You know what you're doing. You know what you're supposed to do. You know where the limits are, and you know when you can't just say, "Oh, well, we've never done it on this technology. That's why the movie sucked." No, it's you being a awful director, or your actors being flat, or there being pictures of spoons throughout the house. Whatever it is, everyone got that, I'm sure.
What was that a reference to?
You'll know. Anyway, but the important thing is, you don't have any excuses with film. Also, don't get me wrong, it also has a great medium if you want to blow it up. But that's basically my argument in a nutshell.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the problem, is that you know what you're getting. There's no creativity in creation.
Yeah, but the upside is you know what you're getting.
But that's the problem. You have to, because they talk about this a little bit, where every year you need to top yourself, and then that comes a little bit with summer blockbuster just because of the nature of the commercial film, but also the idea of you have an image in your mind, and because you know what you're getting, you decide to not do it. That's a problem.
And beyond that, too, is just like, yeah, of course digital isn't quite as good as film when it starts out. And I mean, I'd make the argument that that they're on par right now, and it's quickly going the other way. Of course digital isn't as good as film when it starts out, because they're experimenting with the medium and making it work, but it didn't take long.
Yeah, I mean, look at the shift from silent film to sound. How all these serious actors were against the talkies, and they said that it ruins the creativity, and you don't know what you're getting anymore. But that's the same argument people were making for digital, and no one makes silent films anymore. No one argues about that anymore. There's no integrity in a silent film unless you're using that to tell a story. And in that case, it matters because it's sound.
Yeah, and beyond that, too, I mean, you know, the famous quote that I will always treasure is that television is a flash in the pan.
Yeah, that's right.
No, wait. You know who said this?
Who said that?
Head executive of a radio company in the 30s. Like radio broadcasting company that did all, you know, the radio dramas and stuff. So like, just it's this notion of
radio's still going strong.
Yeah, but it's not what it was. When was the last time you sat around the living room to listen to a radio drama? How about never?
Yeah, and I mean, there's no one's saying we need to go back to older style microphones for radio either, right?
Yeah, and just the notion of, oh, well, everything has to, you know, obviously this is untested, so we shouldn't even bother with it. No, we should test it so that we can improve it. You're just protecting something that you love, and, you know, fair on you, but you shouldn't put people down because they're experimenting with a new medium that doesn't take as much work. That's silly to me.
Yeah, I mean, the whole you know what you're getting argument is just, it reads of closed-mindedness to me, at least. No offense or anything. I'm just saying, like, when people say you know what you're getting, that just means that you don't want to try something else.
Well, absolutely not. Look, I'm not. I prefer film because I know what I'm getting. I'm not averse to editing. I'm not averse to special effects. I mean, you could. To be absolutely fair, you could make every argument I was saying. You could turn it against me and say, "Oh, that's what people said about special effects and practical effects." Once again, we're leaving that off for a different show. But no, for this one, you've got what is it saying? Digital editing, like the computer work they did on Lord of the Rings. I go once again back to then. The computer work they did on Lord of the Rings was spectacular. It took a phenomenal amount of processing power, but it got done. And I'm talking supercomputer level stuff. I have absolutely no problems with the effects, but I prefer not. I insist. I prefer to use to see film as a medium, just for the quality of the image. I got nothing against them editing stuff in around it. Just to clarify.
No, that's fair. I'm just saying, it's basically the difference of this. You can buy a remote with 5 functions, or you can buy a remote with 6 functions. What's the point of getting the one with 5?
Yeah, good point. But
it's one of those things where, like, I feel like film has had its time, and I feel like we'll keep it, and it'll be a special thing every so often that'll be broken out for, you know, a special project. And I'm okay with that. There are guys that are going to hold on to it until they, like, you're going to have to rip the film literally from their cold, dead hands. But, and I don't know how Chris Nolan is going to make a movie after he's dead, but whatever, he'll deal with it. He's Chris Nolan. Anyway, there'll be guys who will refuse stubbornly to shoot on digital, and that's fine. And I feel like we'll still get films. There will be people who want to do it on film for various reasons, and it'll add to the movie, just the way digital was done at first to add to the quality of the film, or to add something to the film itself. Like, if you want to make, if Tarantino decides to make another movie after Hateful Eight, and he wants to do something, that's set in the 70s, yeah, you should probably do that on film as opposed to digital, just to get that authenticity. Like, I don't like we talked about earlier, like, oh, well, if you want a certain look that you have on film, you can replicate that with digital. I don't really need digital to do that. At that point, yeah, go ahead and use film. If there's nothing else that you really need that you're going to get out of the digital thing, yeah, go ahead and use film. That makes sense. But if we're just shooting normal things, why wouldn't you choose something that's easier, has more options, and gives you more control? I just don't understand why you wouldn't go for that unless you're specifically doing something to put it back on film.
I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong with film. It's just when people hold it up as a golden standard over digital just because it's film.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from on that one. I'm just thinking of a couple of, and granted, this is kind of a special case, but I'm just thinking of a couple of environmental situations where, for one reason or another, digital photography wouldn't necessarily be that good. Mind you, we've got digital photographs streaming back from Pluto at the moment, so yeah. Maybe that's a bit of an extreme case, but yeah. I guess that's one option there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's only going to get better, so most of the arguments that people make against it are going to be irrelevant. Like, most of the arguments, Steve, that people are making against digital in that documentary, I feel are irrelevant now, because that came out in 2012.
They're completely irrelevant. I mean, there's lots of points where they're talking about people taking digital seriously at the Academy Awards, and that's completely gone away.
Yeah, it's obvious now that it's to be taken seriously.
Yeah, I mean, at this
point... It just happened so quick.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, just because you can do something with advanced technology doesn't mean you should. That's fine. That makes perfect sense. Absolutely. But at the same time, it's got its merits. It's got its undeniable advantages. And, I mean, there's lots of things I wouldn't want to see anywhere outside of film. If you're going to make a detective, hard-boiled noir film again, if you want to do something like Chinatown again, which we don't get a lot of anymore, but if you want to, do that on film. That would look better.
I'm curious, do you know what Lucky Number 11 was shot on by chance?
I think that was film.
Yeah, there are a couple scenes where I'd be curious about it, and it's weird because I'll see if I can find this video real quick. Go ahead and keep talking, Steve, but I do want to show you guys.
Okay, yeah, I mean, what was I saying?
Noir films should be shot on actual films.
There we go. There are certain things that would just should be on film because the constraints can possibly make you a little bit more creative for that type of story. At the same time, digital is doing a lot that we couldn't have even thought of before. Before we throw digital under the bus and saying it's killing movies, maybe we should see all of the copious amounts of advantages. And I'm not saying you said this, but there's a copious amount of advantages that it does for you. Like, you see in a lot of blockbuster films now that there are these massive sets and really elaborate staging and stuff. And part of the problem we have for directors trying to work with that is it's really hard to find like a focal point to shoot everything from, because things are so big that you find it hard to like control the area. But because of digital cameras and because of smaller sizes, you can get these really unique and interesting angles. If you look at the opening for Avengers: Age of Ultron, and you go to that part where they're lifting the hammer, everything is shot with the group as a collective. You're getting shots behind from underneath the hammer with the hammer as a blur. You're getting shots where three members are together and you're looking up at them or looking down from them, and it's this massive, gorgeous set. And there's stuff you can't do with film because of how awkward the shots are, and it adds to the storytelling.
Yeah, that's...
I can't find this video. Oh well.
Those are the words that have just made my day. I'm just Ian. Anyway.
No, it's fine. It's just there's this great video that someone did where like we're at the point where I honestly will make the argument you can't tell. Like people say, oh well, I can tell the difference when something's green screened. I will honestly make the argument, no, you can't. You just know, so you're acting like you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's this great video that I found on YouTube, and it might have been pulled because YouTube and it is copyrighted footage. But all right, has everyone here seen? I believe it's the first episode of Heroes.
Yeah.
I dimly remember that. It's been a while.
Yeah, okay. There's this really famous shot of that where the Japanese guy,
Hero.
or maybe he's Japanese, I don't remember,
Hero,
teleports and he's in the middle of Times Square.
Yeah, and that was in almost all the trailers.
Yeah, and the camera goes 360-degree view of him in Times Square.
That was green screened?
Yes.
That was really well green screened. I've got to give it that.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. There are tons of shows that just, you wouldn't even guess that it's green screen. You're like, wait, they didn't shoot that? And like, the thing is, they do it really deceptively, because they'll shoot part of it on a real street, and then they'll put a big backdrop in the back, and holy shit, it's fucking green. That was green screened at all? I didn't know. That shot, and they do a pass of it where it's broken down like that. And like, no, there's no arguing with this. You wouldn't possibly have known that until you saw that. Like, people always swear up and down, oh, well, I can tell the difference. No, you fucking can't. You just have it in your head, so you have to pretend that you know the difference. I could easily shoot this in real life and then replicate it on a green screen and put them side by side, and you wouldn't even know. It's a series I haven't done in a while because it became too impractical to do. But Maxwell's Magic Reviews and I had a short-lived series called Effect versus Effect, wherein we did digital. I did like a digital effect, and he did a practical stage magician effect to create a similar type of illusion. And problem is, the first episode's the best episode. But like, so he takes a Mountain Dew can in like his video, and he does makes it disappear in his hands. He just like, does a little flourish of his hands, and the can is gone. I come out on to my set. I have the Mountain Dew bottle right in front of me. I take my hand and I slam it down on the table right on top of the Mountain Dew bottle. The Mountain Dew bottle's gone. And like, you can't, like, if you didn't know that I was doing it digitally, you wouldn't be able to tell me that there's any real difference between those two clips. So the idea that's like, oh, well, I can always tell the difference between whether this was done digitally or, well, this was done practically. Like, no, you can't. And, like, it's funny because Nolan is pushing this medium and showing, oh, no, that you need to do more stuff practically. And I agree. But it's to the point where people don't even realize that he's shooting stuff practically and not digitally. It's like people don't believe that it's not CGI. Like, people look at the rotating hallway in Inception and they don't believe it's not CGI. There's that scene in Interstellar where Matthew McConaughey's character is floating through the the fourth dimension where
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's practical, and you never know.
They did that
and
with
so it's at the
mirrors?
point where digital is. What?
They did that with what, mirrors?
No, they did it with projectors on screens.
Fair enough.
So that is practical.
Well done.
Yeah, and you would never know, though.
No,
So it doesn't matter that it was done practically half the time, because guess what? It will look just as good in CG, because obviously you believed it was CG, and you thought it looked amazing.
Yeah, there was a great story at one point when Gravity first came out. And there was a video where this guy took all these negative reviews, people saying that the CGI looks really fake, and then pointed to very particular scenes where they thought the CGI was awful, and then they showed behind-the-scenes footage, and it said, no, that wasn't CGI, that was all practical.
Yeah, and like, so people just want to pick on things because there's like this weird love affair with practical effects, and I'm just going to make this one point, and I don't want to argue about it, I just want to make this point. The reason to go digital in effects is because you can capitalize on movement more than on the look most of the time. And if you look at a lot of practical effects, no matter how good they are, it's very jerky a lot of the time. It's really like jerky, or things don't quite look to move correctly. And so you trade a more believable look for a less range of motion. And when you go digital, things tend to move much more fluidly, much more naturally if you do it right, obviously.
Yeah.
But then you certainly have the potential to lose quality of reality. And so it's a trade-off. But the thing is, digital can only get better. Practical effects, there's only so much you can do to make something move and look believable at the same time.
To be fair, the overall scope is still pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, sure, but at the same time, digital is just going on and on and on, and practical, it's hitting a wall. You can't argue that at a certain point, unless you have an unlimited budget to make this one little thing move across the screen perfectly, it's gonna hit a wall.
Yeah, and I would just sum up everything in this video to say that Chris Nolan's making great films. I mean, he's made a couple of duds here. I hate Interstellar, but he's not doing anything good for new generations of filmmakers just sitting on film. Imagine how much he could do and how much greater he could expand things if he moved over to digital. Would he not be ultimately making techniques and filmmaking better if he did that?
Yeah.
If he can create these fantastic effects practically, just imagine putting that imagination into digital.
Mm-hmm. And I certainly appreciate the argument of we need to stay more practical. Because I do agree CGI is overused. It doesn't mean CGI is the problem. Yeah.
No.
It means that people are overusing it.
Yeah.
It's like Batman, you know. Batman being in everyone's movie and comic book is not Batman's fault. It is your fault for buying everything that Batman's in, people. Yeah. So don't blame Batman. Blame yourselves. Ask not what Batman can do for you, but what you can do for Batman. Anyway, this has gotten really silly. But no, so CG and digital itself is it's just going to go beyond. And yeah, I'd love to see Nolan, try and push digital, I'd like to see Nolan prove himself right. I'd like to see him put all the same effort and work he does into working with a digital movie and have him prove, okay, so this is why it can't work. And I don't think he could do it. I think if he really pushed himself to do all the same things, put the same amount of effort he would into into a film and practical effects, and as he is into digital and CGI, that he would end up with a superior film for that effort.
Well, maybe not at first. You got to remember, there's always a learning curve when it comes to new technology.
I'm sure, but at the same time, that's my point. Is if you were to put the effort into doing it, he puts all this effort into making sure that they're working with film. On Dark Knight, they talk about working with the IMAX cameras. Because they're so heavy and so bulky, they had to beef up every single camera rig they had, so that the rigs could handle the IMAX cameras. Well, if you put that same amount of effort and time into shooting digitally, you're gonna get a great result. And I'd like for him to actually go through that. And that's earlier why I said I'd love to see Kubrick work on. I would love to see Kubrick's opinion on this, because the guy, all the Kubrick stories. Fucking nuts what this guy saw with his eyes. Just things you hear people say things like, oh, this part looks off, and you look at it and it looks fine to you, but this person clearly sees something that you don't.
Yeah.
And Kubrick had this amazing ability. There's this great anecdote from The Shining where they break for lunch and they come and they just leave everything on so they don't have to mess with it again, and they come back half an hour later. And Kubrick looks around and he goes, the lighting's off. Who turned off the lights? And he's like, no one. We didn't turn off any of the lights. He's like, no, the lighting's off. So they get a light meter, and they go around and they check every single light on the set. And one light had decayed by 0.5% or something ridiculously minuscule like that. And the dude just saw it. And so I'd love to see what he would say about digital, because what digital really needs is someone with a very respectable opinion in that area, in the film making area, to really fight for it. Because Lucas was almost there, but if Star Wars had been better, he would have won. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you that, right? He's on the winning side, but he would have won instantly if the Star Wars prequels hadn't sucked.
Yeah, same with you. If Avatar was actually a well-told story, then he would have won the argument as well.
What are you talking about? Dances with Wolves was a
let's
great
just
movie.
Push back
Right?
on that a little bit, Steve. Steve, let me just push back on that a little bit. I don't think the problem with Avatar isn't that it's well told. I think that it's, cliche.
I think that's partly why it's not well told. Is that it's cliche with nothing added to the material.
Yeah, like I'd just say it's standard. It's not like a bad story. It's just an overdone story.
Yeah.
I would
so,
stretch it up to say it is a little bit of a bad story, partly because of the pacing and such. But we don't have to review Avatar.
Yeah, I disagree with a lot of what people say on Avatar. So I will leap to that movie's defense a little bit, but not like
It actually made the 3D.
kill myself because I can't live on Pandora.
It actually made the 3D.
Like those people are fucking nuts. Did you hear about that? Like, people were legitimately committing suicide or attempting suicide because they couldn't live on Pandora.
Yeah, I heard.
I heard about that. That was fucking weird. Don't get me wrong. I get wanting to live in a fantasy world for a while or, explore it further.
But that's what mushrooms are for, people.
And ayahuasca, yeah. True that.
Do drugs, kids.
We are a family show, by the way.
Steve's the politician. Yeah, Steve's the politician, so he's not going to say any of this stuff. But I will.
Remember, kids, if life lets you down, there's ways to get your groove back.
Yeah. No, but like digital is just one of those things where I really could have seen myself going for film here if I heard stronger arguments. But really, the best argument I heard was, well, film's harder. And I'm like, well, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I mean, people were talking about how film teaches you patience because it's harder, but okay, by that argument, everyone should walk to school instead of using cars.
Walk uphill both ways in the snow.
Yeah, it's a false analogy. It's dumb.
Yeah, it's just, if it's important for the story, like, that's the thing, is I think the roles will be reversed. I think digital is becoming the standard, and that when the story demands it, it'll be shot on film. I think that's where things are going to go, and I am perfectly comfortable with that. And that's fine, because then we'll still have directors like Tarantino and Nolan who have the name and the influence to make that a reality, and that's fine. And if J.J. Abrams, actually, I'm cool with him shooting Star Wars on film, because the thing is, lens flare looks better on film than it does on digital. I'll give him that. And J.J. Abrams has a love affair with lens flare, and it overpowers digital in a way that it doesn't with film. Yeah. So yeah, I'll give him that. I mean, obviously you can tone it down with digital and stuff. There are things to do retroactively to fight that, or you could just, not have lens flare and then put it in afterwards, whatever. No, but like that's the thing. Yeah, I can see that argument. That's a good reason for him to go on film. I'm wondering though if Star Wars is going to be kind of like what Man of Steel was for Zack Snyder with J.J. Abrams. Not like in quality of story or anything, but just like, everyone was making jokes before Man of Steel came out that it was going to be the slow-mo Superman movie, and now everyone's making jokes that we're going to have like lightsabers with lens flare. So I'm really curious if J.J. Abrams is going to be like really self-conscious and not have any lens flare in his movie.
Well, I feel like if you had like the right kind of lens flares in a lightsaber battle, it could look badass.
Oh, me too. I'm just curious if he's going to be really self-conscious about it, because I felt like Snyder was in Man of Steel.
Oh, he totally was. Have you ever heard his commentary on that?
No, I haven't.
He talks about stories and how people told him to tone down the lens flares.
Oh, wow, that's funny. No, just like, everyone was making jokes that Snyder was going to be like, oh, it's going to be the slow-mo Superman movie. And I actually would have liked that a little bit more, just because Superman's one of the characters that I think actually demands slow motion. But there's, like, no slow motion in it, and that's actually kind of disappointing to me.
Used it by the end, yeah.
Yeah. But they were going with the whole shaky cam thing, but that's another argument entirely. But anyway, no, it's one of those things where, like, I'm really curious to see if we end up with lens flare in the J.J. Abrams Star Wars movie or not, because I think it could be cool, but I'm afraid he's going to get really self-conscious about it, because that's pretty much what everyone's just started calling him is lens flare Abrams, and it's just because, like, he mentions in a couple interviews that he really likes lens flare, and then people point it out in every single movie, so it gets into this whole thing. And I actually really liked his use of it in Star Trek. I think it was overused, but I liked his use of it in Star Trek because he used it on the digital shots, like, you know, the Enterprise flying around in space. He used it on the digital, like the CGI shots, so it actually gave those some credibility and made it look like there was actually a camera out in space following the damn ship.
Yeah.
Really clever stuff.
Yeah. I go back to Industrial Light and Magic on that one.
I'm sorry, what was that, Steve?
Sorry.
I was saying I thought it looked better in Into Darkness too when he was really toning some of it down, and when you used it, it had like a bit of gravitas to it.
Yeah, totally.
Agree.
It's one of those things where it's such a funny thing to talk about with J.J. Abrams and his fucking lens splitter. But the joke I will always go back to is J.J. Abrams. If you fuck up Star Wars, your nickname will be Jar Jar Abrams. Let it be known.
Oh, that's harsh. Fair, but harsh.
Let's hope not.
If he screws up, though, that's what's going to happen.
From what I've seen so far, it looks pretty promising. And from what they've revealed about some of the characters, once again, no spoilers. It looks like they're getting around it. It sounds like they've got a solid story arc, good characters, and they've got some familiar settings. So, yeah, I don't see it getting screwed up that badly. And more importantly, they've told George Lucas, no, there's certain stuff we will not allow you to do. That's always a good recipe.
Yeah, I mean, like, you look back at some of the original stories of on-set confrontations that happened on the original Star Wars movie, including Harrison Ford throwing a script at George Lucas and telling him he didn't know how to fucking write dialogue.
My housemate told me that one. The line, I believe, was, "You can write that, damn it, George, but you can't say that." And yeah, it's the more people told him no, the harder he worked to actually make, you know, good art, and it succeeded. Not to mention his ex did most of the editing, and apparently, and this is by a few people's testimony, when the original edit that George did himself, the word "hot mess," those words came up a few times. So think more like Turkish Star Wars, the man who saves the world. Yeah, and then it turned into the Star Wars that we know and love, when somebody took Industrial Light and Magic stuff and straightened the whole thing out.
That's good. It's just one of those things where it's like it's crazy. I feel like directors, by and large, get more credit and flack than they deserve on a movie. I mean, obviously, if a movie's bad, it's probably not the lighting guy's fault, despite what Christian Bale will say.
No comment.
Zing! It's probably not the lighting guy's fault, but I don't know. Like, Joel Schumacher gets a lot of shit for Batman Returns, but that movie, or Batman Forever more than Batman and Robin, because, I mean, that one was studio. But Joel Schumacher gets a lot of shit for Batman Forever, but most of that movie's problems go back to Tommy Lee Jones. No, seriously, because, like, Joel Schumacher actually wanted to have Two-Face be, like, the real serious and kind of scary villain, and Jim Carrey's Riddler to be like the zany over-the-top villain, and have them play off of each other as foils like that. But Tommy Lee Jones didn't want to get upstaged by Jim Carrey. He did anyway. So, like, every single piece of direction Joel Schumacher gave him, he just went the exact opposite way on. And so the only good Two-Face scene we get is the very first Two-Face scene. Everything else...
Yeah, I mean, that's there, and the producer interference there. It wasn't Joel Schumacher's fault that movie didn't work as well. It's still the best of those four, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of those original four, it's the only one that's got a cohesive story.
Fair enough. Okay.
That is true.
I don't know. I think I like Returns the most, just because it's at least got a good, like, not a good villain plot, but the villain plot at least makes some sense.
Returns actually has some interesting thematic stuff.
So the one with Catwoman and the Penguin, right?
And I mean, once you get past Batman lighting a guy on fire,
yeah. No,
the bat doesn't kill, but he will strap a bomb to you or light you on fire. Yeah, that's totally.
And throw you down a well. Yeah, it's weird. And Burton's a guy that, like, he's shooting mostly on digital these days, right?
I don't know the last movie he made, though. What was it?
It wasn't Alice in Wonderland.
Wasn't The Corpse Bride.
No, that was way before Alice in Wonderland. Was it Frankenweenie?
I think that was it, yeah.
Was it Big Eyes, maybe?
I don't
Big Eyes,
know what
that
that
wasn't
is.
his? Yeah, that'd be Big Eyes.
Yeah, Big Eyes was his when it came out.
Well, I can look it up right now.
It's either Big Eyes or Frankenweenie, one of the two.
No, Burton's a guy that I think does really well on both. When it's done well, obviously, and obviously he has his own style that I think the studio is more demanding of him now than he is of himself.
Yeah, like Burton's such a set design costume guy that I don't think it matters whether he's shooting on digital or film.
Yeah, and I mean, just some of the stuff, like Alice in Wonderland is one of the few good 3D movies, like that's actually a good experience in 3D. And so, I don't know, it's one of those things where, like, there's a lot to talk. Should we talk more about the 3D thing? Because I don't feel like the documentary brought it up enough at all.
They mentioned it as a new technique. I think we could do a whole separate discussion on the 3D and its merits.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot to talk about whether or not it's a gimmick and where it works and where it doesn't. Because for some reason or other, every time I try to watch a movie more than once in theaters, I always end up going to 3D at least once. And I can't remember a single time in the last 3 years where 3D mattered.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like it's this weird. It was weird that the documentary brought up 3D, but they didn't bring up the distinction between shooting in 3D and converting to 3D.
Avatar was worth seeing in 3D, but that's. I'm just thinking.
That's because that was James Cameron's passion project.
Yeah, Pixels wasn't bad, but I've seen better. Avatar definitely worth it.
Yeah, like the thing is, I just want to talk about this real quickly, and 3D gets a lot of flack, but that's because the 90% of the movies that have come out in 3D since Avatar are post-converted. And that looks like shit, and the reason why is because you just shoot it differently. The way you shoot a film in 3D is you actually have things come at the camera more. You do it intentionally that way. Whereas when you're shooting in 2D, to create the illusion of depth, you have things come at and off camera, to the left or right or whatever, as opposed to directly toward the camera.
Gravity did. Yeah, I guess I'll go back to my statement a little bit. Gravity did 3D magnificently.
Yeah, totally. It can be incredibly immersive when it's intentionally done so, but a lot of places just cash in on 3D, and like that's 3D's. The 3D post-conversion thing, too, is also a problem for me, because the one thing I don't like about 3D is it's skewed box office now.
Yeah, that's been a pain.
Like, the thing everybody says, and it irks me so much, is, well, Avengers beat Dark Knight and Rises at the box office. I'm like, yes, it did, but not on ticket sales. If you look at the number of tickets sold for each movie, Avengers sold less than Rises, but because Avengers had 3D tickets as well, it boosted it.
We're going to get the exact same thing when Episode 7 comes out because of IMAX screening tickets and 3D tickets and the play runs for those movies. It's going to skew the box office ridiculously. Yeah,
so it's just 3D skews box office, so like it's become less dependable now, which is a problem.
Does box office really matter?
I mean, it just lets you know how big a movie really got, but at the same time, it doesn't show you how many people went to go see it when it skews it that much.
Sorry, how many people borrowed it?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it still matters. It's a very good indication of how many people wanted to see a film in maximum quality at the soonest possible time, for an opening weekend. Okay, that says a lot about, how much prestige your film was garnering and, how many people thought it was worth seeing. But a good example of a film that should have had all those advantages but didn't translate was Masters of the Universe. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, first of all, you took He-Man out of the title, big mistake. Second of all, you've got the, what do you call it? You had something where people should have been interested, but the minute anyone got a look at it, they're like, oh god! What the hell was that? But, it's still a good indicator, but by no means is it the last word anymore.
Oh yeah, clearly critical reception matters, but at the same time, it lets you know how well a
So-
movie did and whether or not it's going to get
Yeah,
a sequel.
only
always
for
I'm
a
talking
certain
like-
frame.
DVD sales are
What?
important too.
Yeah. I mean, box office
Okay.
only matters to a very specific degree of market analysis. As far as like
Thank
long
you.
box office runs, no one cares that Avengers made 1.5, Age of Ultron made 1.4. It doesn't really matter in that terms. What matters is
Yeah.
how much longevity the film has with DVDs and toys and games and all that stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's just one of those things where, like, the box office is skewed now because of 3D, and that's the biggest problem I think that 3D has is, like, if you put 3D tickets, like, I honestly feel that movie theaters should be reporting their 3D, taking out the price of their 3D when they're reporting those numbers. I just think that that's more fair to do it that way. But
Although
I don't
hopefully
know.
over
It's
time,
up-
3D ticket prices decrease and normal ticket prices rise and like kind of meet in the middle somewhere, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, it's just annoying because everyone dismisses, 3D is just a fad. I'm like, yeah, well, it's because it's being used improperly, and that's something that, Cameron was really out and touting against. Is he's like, if you're going to shoot in 3D, then actually do it. Quit butchering this art form, and you're giving it a bad name.
Yeah.
Because that dude put his heart and soul. Like the cameras that they shot Avatar on, he helped develop.
Yeah. I mean, Avatar looks great in 3D. Gravity looks great in 3D. It matters a little bit to watching that film, whether you're watching it in 3D or not. But then you watch other, like you said, post-converted things or films that are like marketed as 3D but don't really matter in 3D. Like I saw Interstellar in 3D. It made almost no difference.
I saw it in 3D.
Like
Still-
the one for me is Thor. The first Thor movie is the absolute worst 3D experience I've ever had. Because I swear to God, there are only 2 shots
Oh,
in
you should have
3D.
seen the second
What
Thor in
is-
3D then.
No, one is the Space Needle thing on top of Natalie Portman's lab, and the other is when Thor is flying at the camera with this hammer. That is
Thor:
Natalie
The Dark World
Portman
had that
was
problem in
in that
spades.
movie.
There's not a single shot in that movie that deserves 3D.
Yeah, that's too funny. How the hell do you fuck up Thor and make it like the least epic of all the Marvel movies?
You have to be.
twice?
I don't understand. He's the easiest to adapt. He's literally the easiest to adapt.
Anyway, are we good? Do we need to mention anything else? Do we want to kill each other yet, or
I
what's
think
up?
we're good.
I've found a strange peace with you guys. I think we've come to the conclusion that they're still developing digital as a form of recording, and true, there's still experimentation going. I'm still not convinced that you're getting anything out of digital or even 3D. Just while we're on the subject, that you're not getting out of conventional filmmaking at the moment. That you can't do with editing software in post.
Yeah, I disagree with that, but I
You understand,
by
right?
and large I can see that in a lot of movies. Because I mean, you got to remember, like half the time they're converting their film to digital to edit it in post anyway. So it's like you're just adding a step there. But yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with that completely too. But
I mean, I'm not disagreeing. Like it's got its merits in that point, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of. I don't know. I'm of two minds about it, I suppose.
As long as you understand where I'm coming from, that's all I ask for. You can disagree with me as much as you like. I'm happy to take comments all over my channel, or just BS me over on Skype, whichever's good.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, for me, I think, like, I wanted to side with film going into this, but the more I thought about it and the more I heard arguments, I couldn't help it. I'm like, yeah, digital. Because, like, I don't want to be I feel nasty being in a bed with George Lucas and James Cameron. I mean, Robert Rodriguez being there too, like it softens the blow a little bit, but I still feel really dirty and like I'm gonna need a shower. But I'm in that
David
bed,
Fincher's got your
man.
back.
Yeah, there we go. I got David Fincher and Robert Rodriguez. I'll put them on left and right sides, and I'll put George and this is so stupid. I can't get through this. Steve, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I guess just that You pegged me right in the beginning when you said it was a weird topic for me, since I'm always more of a story guy. But that's exactly why I prefer digital. It's because it gives you a broader scope of storytelling. I think it's superior. I think in 10 years this argument would make even less sense because digital is going to become so much of the standard. And there's nothing wrong with film. Film is good. Film is fine. But just because we're shifting over doesn't mean it doesn't like invalidate it. Like film had numerous upgrades that no one was complaining about. This is just another one.
Yep, I'd agree with that. I'm of multiple minds on this subject, but ultimately I do come down on digital. It's just clearly the next step, and you know, I love Nolan to death, but he is clearly a guy that's holding on to the past. And I was very disappointed not to see Tarantino in this movie too, because I would have loved to hear more of his thoughts, and I think he probably would have been able to make a bit of a better argument than Nolan did. But anyway, everyone, if you watched this whole video, well, you don't need to go watch Side by Side because we pretty much summarized it for you, and I think this is longer than it anyway, so you've kind of wasted that commitment.
Wow.
But if you do want to, and there are some really fascinating interviews with people, and if you want to feel dirty being in bed with George Lucas, you can go watch that movie. It's on Netflix. It is worth your time, though. If you watch this, you clearly have enough time on your hands. So go ahead and watch that as well. And go ahead and watch more episodes of Geeky Gentlemen, maybe our old episode on practical versus digital effects. Until next time, everyone, thank you very much for watching. This is a lot of fun to discuss. And I had a lot of fun doing it. We need a review topic. Alex was going to provide it, but he's not here. Ozzy, are you free at next Friday?
Next Friday. Actually, just funny you should mention that. I got my schedule from work. I believe that's Wednesday and Thursday I have off next week. In fact, if you literally give me a few seconds, I am literally pulling up my...
Steve, provide background music. Now the change-up.
That had no rhythm whatsoever.
Drop that beat, Steve. Steve's gonna beatbox for us now. Go.
I'm doing a thing, and it's a beat called beatboxing, and I have no idea how to do it, but it's a thing, and I'm doing it.
This is why I recommended we use Blue Funk.
There we go. This is also why auto-tune is a thing.
Yeah. Steve Backseat is just siding and is just getting in bed with all the digital things that are corrupting art.
Starting from the 21st, I have Wednesday the 23rd and Thursday the 24th. Mind you, it is the 19th today for me, so that'll give you a sense of time scale.
So it wouldn't be Friday for you, it'd be Saturday for you. Do you have Saturday?
Saturday, I'm out of work at about 6:30 p.m. my time, so no, that puts me out of Saturday from your point of view.
Oh, damn.
This is Friday,
Friday for
right?
us. Yeah.
No, I'm working the same hours the next day. I'm working over the weekend.
Oh, well, I guess I'll come up with a review topic. What day is that? I gotta make sure it's not into October.
Did you review Jonah Hex last week?
Yes, we did. It was a lot of fun.
Missed that one. Something came up, like I said.
It's cool, man. It's cool. I guess I'll just pick
New
some.
Frontier. I have actually finally found a copy and watched it.
Too bad we already did a review.
Yes, because that was good.
That's a great movie, yeah.
Let's see. I gotta think of something.
5 points.
Something short, preferably.
I really want to do a comic. I want to do something Zorro. I'm on such a big Zorro kick right now.
I can review the TV show. That I actually have seen.
All of the original 50s show?
50s, no.
No? Okay.
Barely in the middle.
Something. Hold on. I'm trying to think. What would be good Zorro property to do? Because
Have you reviewed any of the movies?
Steve, do you?
Oh, like Zorro the Gay Blade?
No, we haven't. But 7 issues of a comic book seem doable to you, Steve?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll have the time to read that. I've got so much reading to do for class these days.
Shit. Okay, no
No,
problem.
I'm fine for work. I got my my job disappearing at the end of the month. Upside in, I'll have plenty of time to do podcasts, read stuff. Should be great.
God damn, I really wanted to do Sora. Damn it. Alright. Son of a bitch. This is great audio. Alright, you two keep them entertained while I go look at my DVD shelf.
And this is where I tell you about my travels in India in the 1800s.
This is back when you were an immortal and chopping off heads and all that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, dude, weren't you? Anyway, no, I was just going to say, I really thought I had a link to it. Just give me a second. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, I gotta love using what do you call it? This web browser while I'm doing other stuff. It always gets a bit funny when you try and start actually typing stuff in. Okay, we're going to be editing the snot out of this, I'm sure.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Now, is that still up? Yes, it is. Okay, so, guys, you'll see me dropping a link on you.
A link that no one else is going to be able to see in video form.
Okay. Because Rodriguez was in this movie, or in this documentary, and it really got me like, God, I want to watch some Rodriguez stuff, we're going to discuss his film Desperado.
Desperado?
I haven't seen that in years.
Yeah, neither have I, and that'll be
sure
fun.
My housemate's actually got a copy of it.
Well, if you can make it next Friday, that'd be great, man. But if not, don't worry.
Have you seen the rest of the Mexico trilogy or no?
I've been holding off until I see El Mariachi, but you know what? I've never found a copy of El Mariachi.
Didn't know there was a third movie. I know
every time I see El Mariachi, it's in a 3-pack with the other 2 movies, which I already own, so I don't want to buy them again.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because I can't find that thing anywhere else either.
Hey, when that happens.
It's such a pain in the ass. Zorro the Gay Blade, lovely.
What? Name of the movie.
You linked us Zorro the Gay Blade.
Zorro franchise.
It just sounds like a porno is the problem.
What? He's just going to be sticking into other men. What's the idea of a sword if you're not doing it for that? I mean, come on. We are talking about swords here.
I was actually reading this really great Zorro comic tonight at work, and there's this like cool scene where he's facing off against a military man, and they're like, the guy's bragging about how good a swordsman he is, and there's like 3 candles sitting on a candelabra on a desk, and he cuts through all 3 candles without like even moving the candelabra. And then there's just one big candle sitting on another candelabra on another table. And Zorro goes, well, you're good, but I'm better. And he makes like a quick slice of the thing, and nothing happens with the candle. And the guy starts laughing at him, and then the candle falls apart, and it's just left in the shape of a Z, and the light, it's still got the flame on it. It was fucking amazing.
That's badass.
Yes, it is. I don't even know if it's possible, but it was
No, I assure you it's definitely not possible. But not without about 3 different strokes from just the right angle. And I assure you, you'd move most of the wax in the first 2.
Yeah, it was just so fucking cool, though, dude. You have no idea. Anyway,
the candles with a single stroke, that is impressive.
Yeah, there's a Django Zorro crossover book where he was doing that with a whip, and that was really cool.
That would be awesome.
He was blowing candles with a whip. It was so fucking awesome. And Django's sitting there watching. He's like, "Okay, you got to teach me that." The Django Zorro crossover was the 7-issue thing I was thinking about, Steve.
That would have been great. If I get those, I can read them long term, and then we can review them eventually.
Yeah, that'd be fun to do because I love that series. Oh my god, that's so what kicked off this Zorro thing.
I've heard nothing things about that many.
Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap up because we still haven't ended the show. So next week we're doing Desperado. Because fuck yeah.
We should open with that Seinfeld clip about Desperado.
I don't know what you're talking about, but no, because copyright.
This is true.
I'll walk around with a guitar case. How does that sound? Anyway, Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the stand-in.
And we are your geeky gentlemen, and we will be discussing things for entirely too long.